Hello everyone, Gray is back again with you in Gaming Zone. So today, for something quite interesting in Gaming Zone, I've decided to do a tier list video on Battlefield mods. Yes, it's actually happening, and because I finally have this webcam which is recording my gestures and my emotions, I would like to introduce you to the Battlefield 2 mods tier list. So basically, this series is going to take all of the modifications which I've played over the course of this channel's creation period, and I'm going to plop them on in the tier list, just like you see usually on YouTube. And also shout out to Frosty98B for suggesting me this type of content. It's actually quite interesting to feature yours truly and also having a tier list up here to have something to review on. So, without further ado, let's get into the thingy. So everyone, here we are. This is the tier list in pure blood and flesh. So as you can see, I classified them in 6 categories. We got perfection, great, average, pretty bad, really bad, and of course the classic trash. So this is the tier list. As you can see, we have all of the gameplays, starting from Russian Insurgency, the classic, and going up to the latest release, which was Battlefield Apocalypse. So we have basically everything except the replay series. I'm not counting in the replay series because that is basically just me replaying the things and issuing them final marks. So this is exclusively gameplays, and I'm going to bring back memories about everything which you see right here. So without further ado, let's jump into it. So of course, we start first with the classic gameplay which basically started my career, which is Russian Insurgency. So Russian Insurgency is the first ever gameplay which I did on my channel, so of course this is the lowest quality entry which you could find on Gaming Zone. Now if we throw it into a tier list, honestly this thingy is pretty bad. Why so? Because let's be real, we got only the Soviet faction with some custom guns. That's pretty much it. Everything else is basically vanilla Battlefield 2, but just with the Soviet sprinkle over it. So at best I can say it's really bad. It's not trash, thankfully, but it's pretty bad. So if you want to try it just for memes to see how this plays in 2022, you are free to do so. But as for me, this mod is really bad and I don't really think it's beyond the average.
Guten Tag. Oh, no thank you, bye. Nine! This is my territory!
Now let's continue with the classic, which is Death is Alive. As you might know by it, this is the I'm back content. Because the zombies are so ridiculous in that modification, I was just trolling them beyond infinity. So if you take Death is Alive and plug it into this tier list, I'd say this project is average. Yes, it has ideas, yes, it has custom content, but sadly those zombies are just too ridiculous to consider this modification and a post-apocalyptic entry. Because of that, it's mostly an average modification. But feel free to check it out, I actually recommend it. If you leave the zombies aside, it's a pretty solid deal to survive and escape in its locations.
So top one dies in 2 hits.
Next up is Project Zombie Strike 2014. Basically, this modification is quite interesting as it's a modification that has DLCs. This is one of the first mods to actually receive DLCs. Of course, they actually renamed afterwards to updates, but still, featuring content called DLCs is quite interesting. So as for Project Zombie Strike 2014, from my memories, I think I can put it into great, because it's quite similar to Omnicide, but it brings a fresher look on the zombie things. So if you know, we have Back 4 Blood, we have Left 4 Dead. I think it's more in that style compared to the classic Omnicide, which is just you sitting in a claustrophobic place and just running around, spinning around, and you being alone. In this one, you actually have bots, and you have, of course, even humans versus humans in this. So this is quite an interesting mod to play around with, and I can recommend it to you. Of course, it's not perfection, because it has tons of bugs and a lot of unpolished things, but it's a good experience if you find the time to play it.
Well, thank you for watching and see you next time. Oh, thick!
Oh, next up is Medal of Freedom Advanced Warfighter. So this is quite a story to share with you, everyone. Because this modification is so bad, I'd actually tried to record the mod replay on this thing. But because it's so bad, it was crashing my PCs. It crashed my recording software. I had to record through, I guess, the trashiest software just to have some footage of that thing. So, Medal of Freedom Advanced Warfighter definitely deserves the trash spot. This was the first modification that received a 1 out of 10 on the old Gaming Zone standards. The old Gaming Zone was actually a bit biased. It gave higher rankings than I would usually give in the new one. So you know the modification goofed up really bad if the old Christie Gaming Zone gave you a 1 out of 10. So if you want to see this lovely train wreck, I definitely recommend you checking out the original gameplay, or is it replay, I don't even know, but I'll leave a link in the corner so you can check out this lovely trash fire.
What the? Hey Windows, are you alright there? Whoa! Looks like we need a medic.
So let's continue with the more interesting stuff. So we have Weapon Mod 2. And what is it really about? Just goofing about with tanks having nukes in their cannons, MP5s having nukes as ammunition. Basically this modification is just a meme which turns everything into insanity. You got super soldiers which are invincible, you blow up the locations, you can go outside the boundaries, basically you can do anything in this thing. As for custom content, really it's just the nukes, everything else is just pretty average. So if we take Weapon Mod 2 and put it in the tier list, it's pretty bad, because there is no custom content whatsoever except the custom map, of course, and I think it's only 3 locations, and I think in previous versions you could copy Battlefield 2 maps and throw it in, but with the latest ones the modification just crashes.
Hey! He tried to knife me and he died. Oh yes.
Next up is Project Zombie Reality 4.3. So as the title suggests, this is basically a prequel to Project Zombie Strike 2014. For some reason they just have different names, but I know they share the same universe, or whatever you can call it. So this zombie mod definitely deserves the trash spot. I had the first original gameplay on it, which was pretty rough, but then once I returned to it in the Gaming Zone Eternal format, it was simply horrendous to witness. This is basically Omnicide, but completely destroyed and left without any personality. They just changed some assets, they even broke some assets, so it's basically like a mutant Omnicide, which is downgraded beyond infinity. So this is yet another trash play, which I recommend to watch it to you via the links in the corner.
Why the heck is planting a C4 so hard? Come on. Here, enjoy. And I died. Ah, great. Now the mod will crash on me, and I will switch the teams.
Now we are moving into some of the classics. So as you might know, we have AIX 2.0. So I'm just going to throw it into perfection, because this modification is a classic. Everyone loves it, everyone enjoys it, a lot of people played it online. So if you want just a great time, please check this mod out. It's amazing, it's close to perfection, it has some bugs, some issues, but it's the closest modification that reaches perfection in the Gaming Zone channel.
Are robots using the cannon? Oh my goodness.
Next up we are going to expansion pack number 2. Now this is quite an interesting journey because this thingy is a sequel to Special Forces expansion pack of Battlefield 2. So basically this is a sequel to that thingy. Plus it has apparently Pan-Asian Coalition as a DLC. Of course its developers are shared with Project Zombie Strike. So they kinda mix in with the DLCs and stuff. Expansion pack number 2 is pretty great. I'd say the gameplay is smooth, it's awesome. You got some new content, you also got some of the classic Battlefield things. So if you want to have something fresh for Battlefield 2, like replaying some older Battlefield 2 locations but set in a different lighting, set in a different setting, you are free to try it out. Plus, I think this is the first ever modification to feature, I think, Europe versus United States. So the story on this one is quite peculiar for sure.
PP. Show my PP. Hi. Oh, no. Oh, I made a huge mistake.
So, moving along, we have Spec Ops Warfare. This was the last gameplay that I recorded in Gaming Zone Legacy, which I also like to call Garbage Zone. In the first gameplay which I did, I was actually wondering like, wow, look at these weapons, look at these animations and stuff like that. But after my replay, the impressions about this modification changed to the worse. And sadly, Spec Ops Warfare didn't have a good package and just focused more on weapons than everything else. So because of this, the modification is pretty bad. Sadly, just having weapons doesn't cut it at all. So Spec Ops Warfare is pretty bad.
Okay, let's see where he... Go for! Fuck! I've really shit my pants.
Moving along, we also have Black Hawk Dawn. So this modification is created by the same developers of Urban Conflict, codename Flashpoint. So of course, as you expect, this is more of a mid-range entry in the modification series. So from what I remember, this modification had quite the interesting models of weapons, had some decent locations, but when you have a vehicle which scans the whole location, like straight up, you have a map which is 2 kilometers wide, 2 kilometers fat, and the whole thingy scanner just scans all the map and reveals all of the enemies, you know something is up. So yeah, it had some custom vehicles, and the weapons models were quite iffy, but still it had some custom content. But because it wasn't polished enough, it's pretty bad. I remember giving it, I think, a score of 5 out of 10 or 4 out of 10. In the replay, it's pretty much the same, like this modification is average at best, but when you actually start delving deeper into it, it gets pretty rough and pretty bad in some spots.
What the actual fuck? That's why I am seeing enemies everywhere.
So, next up in line we have Battlefield 2 Alpha Project, and honestly, I can just confidently take this thingy and put it here. Alpha Project honestly is one of those modifications which aim to improve Battlefield 2 based on their own original content, instead of just taking mechanics from everything else. So Alpha Project is the first ever modification that comes in mind which brought upon customization for guns in Battlefield 2. Its aim was mostly to introduce alpha and beta content from Battlefield 2 back into the main game, such as sound for tanks, the divided city map being brought back to original state, and of course introduce new features as well, such as like shooting a vehicle and it started beeping, also when reloading when you drop magazines and stuff like that. The ideas of Alpha Project are unique, and the locations which are introduced also have been polished and look great.
Oh shit! Saiga! Fuck!
Next up is Combat Mod. Combat Mod sadly is a victim of always being in development. This modification never got out of the beta limbo hell, and to this day it's still being developed by its developer. Good news is that the gunplay for this thingy is incredible. The gun animations are just on point. Sadly, the maps are absolute trash though. Like, you got only 2 teams and 3 maps which are horrible. Like, let's be real. We got a sniper valley and we got something in the desert. That's basically it. The gunplay is pretty great, but because the maps are absolute shit, I'm going to throw it in the average section. Sorry not sorry, but a lot of improvement needs to be done before this thingy rises.
Wait! Die! Oh, you stupid son of a bitch. Funny.
Moving along, we have Israeli Defense Forces. I remember dropping the review replay on this thing and I got absolutely destroyed by hatred because I gave it quite a low mark. Sadly, the build which I played was, let's say, appalling. Let's say it softly. And because of that I had to endure through immense problems, and because of that also the rating was quite low for it. So based on my own experience as I played that thingy, it was average. But this is not the end. I'll try out the new updated version and I'll do a replay on it once I finish covering all of the series, and we will see if everything changed or it remained the same.
Is he alive? Oops. What the fuck? Seriously, what the fuck?
Next up we have Point of Existence. And again, just like Alpha Project, I'm going to throw it up here. Point of Existence really is yet another legendary mod that is known basically by everyone. Alongside AIX 2.0 we have Point of Existence 2.0. This modification is one of the first between Battlefield Apocalypse that featured fully custom content. So every single location which you can find in Point of Existence is fully custom and created by its development team. You of course have custom vehicles as well, which are set with the German faction, the Ukrainian faction, United States faction and so on. You got weapons from Battlefield 2, but also changed a bit up so it could fit the settings. And of course the custom maps, which are used to this day by basically knockoff modifications. So without a shadow of a doubt, I can recommend you this modification because it's just incredible. And the gameplay is just on point.
Is that Lenin? Alright, I know my country is post-Soviet garbage, but Lenin? Oh, thank you.
So next in line we have this interesting project called Zone of Continuous Fire. This modification for me personally was known by covering the quite sensitive topic at the time, which was the conflict in Ukraine. They featured the factions which I don't really want to name, you can find out already by googling them. So this modification featured some of that controversial topic, and that's why I kinda got interested in trying it out. So the only gripe I really had with this modification is just removing the content, which was actually content. Content removal shouldn't be allowed at this point. And also some problems with the polishing, for example the UI, the vehicles and the weapons. Overall the experience I had with Zone of Continuous Fire was pretty great, and I can definitely throw it into the great spot. This is a great modification that I can recommend to you everyone. But if you want to try out some of that controversial stuff, you need to find the older version which contains them.
Oh, there is another Venom coming in. Oh shit, it has nukes! Oh fuck! Oh shit.
Next up we have Battlefield 2 Final War. So Final War is basically Project Icarus really. It aimed extremely high and fell really flat on its face. So Final War had in plan to introduce tons of armies. We had content such as Norway, Sweden, Iran and so on. Like some factions which have never been seen before in Battlefield 2 in general. So Final War even wanted to introduce my country, which is called Moldova, in their project. But because their wishes were extremely high, and once they dropped the beta, which I featured on my channel, everything came down crashing and the project basically died. Overall, I'd say this modification is really bad. It's close to being trash, but it's not really trash because it had some ideas. It wanted to bring something new on the table, but because their wishes were too high, it came down crashing horribly. So we received the final product, which was basically a mishmash of assets and bugs and black buildings. Yeah, that's pretty much the sad story of this thingy.
Let's see, I think they stop. Don't you do that to me. Oh yes. Well, this is top-notch parking right here.
Next up we have Codename Flashpoint, which also was known as Urban Conflict. This thingy was also the first ever exclusive release. The day it came out I actually recorded the gameplay and just throw it up on my channel. And because back in those days I couldn't really, do proper reviews, I was just messing around, just recording content for YouTube, I didn't find out the evil things it was hiding in the closet. So if you played the vanilla locations from Battlefield 2 in this project, everything was pretty fine. Like Strike at Karkand during the night was just an incredible experience. You were hiding, you were fighting them, the bots were acting on proper. But once you switch to custom content, this is where the train wreck begins. So we have like Karbala Gap, which is just a flat desert with 2 huts. That's basically it. And you got like tons of tanks just clashing in a base. And honestly, the locations were just appalling. Like, the custom content was absolute trash, and the guns didn't really save this thingy. So overall, I'd say this is pretty bad. It had some good things in it. For example, you could play great on your vanilla locations from Battlefield 2, but once you switch to custom ones, you either get absolute trash like Karbala Gap, which is just like I said, a flat desert, or you find some locations which are just like custom made, but they're so low in content, so low in resolution that you wonder how the hell this was approved for a release. So yeah, it's pretty bad. You can find some good spots in it, but overall the package is pretty bad, and I don't recommend anyone to play it unless you just want to witness a train wreck unfolding. And again, I'm not able to sprint. Like, literally I'm mashing the keyboard and it still doesn't work. Come on! So, next in line is Omnicide. I'm going to throw it immediately into a great section, but I do have some things to say about it. Sadly, Omnicide basically aged pretty bad. The assets started clipping, the textures feel really low in quality. So back in the days, it was actually considered one of the best projects out there because it was a total conversion for Battlefield 2, and it was the first ever modification to actually feature zombies in the Battlefield franchise. Overall, the package, it was a great experience, but it was plagued with bugs, and because of the time aging, you could finally started to notice like the textures are not good in quality, the animations sometimes are broken, you could see clipping through pistols, you could see clipping through gun reloadings. Overall, the setting is on point, but the polish, I'd say, aged quite badly. So it's close to perfection, but because of those issues, it got taken down back a step to the great spot.
Alright, let's feast it.
Oh shit!
Next up in line we have the lovely train wreck, which is Nations at War. If previously I could classify it as between great and average, I'd put it like this. The new version, how can I put it? Trash belongs to trash. The new version, which got released, called Nations at War Standalone, is absolute shit. This is trash. The new build is stuttery, takes ages to load. You can't destroy vehicles sometimes, soldiers can snipe you throughout the location, you even got dark spots, the download speeds of the separate launcher is absolutely horrendous. So this new Nations at War completely destroyed everything it built up. So like I said, trash belongs in trash. That's basically it.
What the actual is that? Dinos with parachutes, oh my god, what the hell is this? Bro, what the hell have I signed up for?
Next up in line we have One Man Show 4, and honestly this is one of the most forgettable mods that I've ever played. So One Man Show 4 is basically your generic asset flips, but featuring zombies and Battlefield 3 guns, Battlefield 3 and 4 weapons. Because this thingy was apparently doing something related to copyright, it got deleted off the internet. So you can only find some map packs and that's it. You can't even record a mod replay for this thing because it's so bad. So yeah, this is yet another zombie mod, but this is more, I'd say, like Counter-Strike knockoffs, you know, the zombie servers where you just act like a person and stuff like that. So yeah, overall I'd say One Man Show is pretty bad, like there's nothing rememberable about it. It's just a mod that's an asset flip that contains zombies. Pretty much it.
Oh look, pickups! Let's find the RPG one. Syndicate. There you go. The most. You see? This one is the... I killed just Psy. I think I killed Psy.
So everyone, this is where we meet the legendary project which basically destroyed everything else I had on my channel and became #1 video on the Gaming Zone. Of course, I'm talking about the BFHD mod, which is basically Battlefield 2 Remastered. Honestly, this project is the best thing I've ever played. period, on my channel. But it has its drawbacks. First thing first, of course, being the Battlefield 4 weapons. As always, yours truly is not a big fan of featuring Frostbite content in Battlefield 2 mods. Overall, I'd say the gameplay of BFHD is basically just like Battlefield 2, but it requires a beefier PC. I remember at the time my original rig was just dying trying to stream this project on Twitch and even recording gameplay on YouTube. Overall, from my memories, from what I remember about BFHD, I'm going to throw it into the great category. Because, of course, at the time the project didn't feature anything custom. But fear not, the next video, which is going to be a replay, is going to feature this modification. So we are going to finally check out and see how BFHD has changed 4 years after its initial gameplay on my channel. And goddamn, it's been 4 years since I actually recorded this. Man, time flies for sure.
Oh my god, just look at this. Man, this shit, these shotguns, oh my god, just look at them.
Nightfall 2048. Now this is a lovely train wreck once again. So this thingy was teased on ModDB for quite some time, and I remember how they were like showing off Levolution for this thing. They had some huge gunships flying over just like Medal of Freedom, just like Counter Warfare Nightfall. And I gotta say, this was probably the most disappointing release of an asset flip I ever seen. When they dropped this thingy, apparently it's just an asset flip containing content from Project Reality, having some stuff from Combat Mod, and featuring soldiers from God knows where. Basically, this thingy is a classic asset flip, which they try to introduce something new, but in the end it came up just a generic asset flip. So this thingy, although it's trash, I'm going to give props where props are due. But as always, because the developers are just lazy or just do these things, it ended up dying immediately after the alpha was dropped for this thingy. It was of course followed by some updates like featuring guns and stuff like that, but in the end, as always, it ends up in this sad situation.
Look at the hand. Oh my god. Can you believe this thing? You have half of the hand and the other one is invisible. And the other hand is just weird stuff that is corrupted. Oh my god. Can you believe? Look at this hand. Oh my god. What is this?
So let's have a look at Operation Peacekeepers. Now this is again a sensitive topic because we have the conflict which happened in former Yugoslavia. So as the title suggests, we have a peacekeeping operation in the countries located in that region. I'm going to say that I don't take any sides when it comes to a conflict. A conflict should never happen. But I'm going to have my statement now about peacekeepers. Honestly, this modification is pretty average. Because the weapons, from what I remember, the weapons are pretty much broken. I remember seeing tons of bugs, it had crashes, like some of the content just refused to load. Of course it had great custom content such as locations and vehicles, but the other things such as weapons and crashes, bugs, like I remember not being able to play like about 25% worth of locations in this modification. I also remember the highlight where I would just play the game and there was this bridge that was just straight up missing, so the bots would just go to their death, just fall and die. So basically I had to take on the challenge and try to find a way to not die and capture the objectives so the bots could spawn in. So this project is without its issues, that's why I'm going to throw it into the average category.
Where is the bridge, god damn it? Look, he's going to fall.
So next up in line, we are finally arriving to entries from Gaming Zone 3.0 format. So starting with this mod called Resistance, we are going into the Battlefield 2 mods New Blood playlist. So first one, which is called Resistance, I found this via ModDB, but you had to contact the developer in order to gain access to it. And I gotta say, after remembering what this thing is really about, because this thing is so forgettable, It's your classic asset flip and mishmash. So basically you got the weirdness with the voices, you got the guns which are interesting, but you know, being shared with different else. But I do remember it featuring some futuristic UI and futuristic panels here and there. Overall, I'd say the package is pretty forgettable because it had vehicles from 2142, it had weirdness with the tanks, it had the same maps from 2142, and as you might know, if a project features content from that our entry, you know something is up. So because this thing is pretty forgettable and just me remembering how the gameplay was, I'm going to throw it into average. Yes, you can have fun in it, but you're going to forget about it in the long run.
Oh! Shit. Okay, now I can see and I just died. What the heck is this noise? Come on.
Next in line we have, I think, the most weird modification that I ever played on my channel, which is called Battlefield 2 Anime. If you take this thingy and classify it between these, there should be another one called God tier. But because we are only limited by perfection, I'm going to throw it in perfection. Like, the memes this thingy generated just made my week, even year. 2018 was one of the worst years, and having Battlefield 2 Anime just brighten up basically everything related to my channel, it was incredible. I still remember vividly how I was shooting a urinal cannon into a white robe folk. That's quite the interesting thingy. So yeah, you got Teletubbies, Gachimuchi, anime girls. This mod is peak of modding community for the Battlefield franchise. Jesus Christ, man.
Jeez, they're shooting me. Okay. Oh my goodness. That was him who was dying like that.
So we continue our journey by visiting Soldiers of War Reborn. This thingy is your classic asset flip containing Frostbite content, 2142 locations, and basically UI from Frostbite titles. This thingy is so forgettable like it's not even funny. Although the gameplay was pretty alright on it, it's still an asset flip which yours truly of course is going to trash beyond infinity. Overall I'd say it's pretty bad, like because of the asset flips, you know, having assets from Frostbite games, from 2142 and so on. The gameplay was decent, like I can't deny this, but it's going to be taken out to pretty bad because of the general asset flip tendencies the project has.
What the heck is this shit? What? Why this thing is like this?
Moving on, we have Operation Dead Dawn, which honestly is one of those quite interesting experimental mods featured on my channel. Operation Dead Dawn is a zombie mod which was released on ModDB for a short period of time. It was in a beta state, then got deleted. So sadly, this project is lost to history and lost on internet. The site which I downloaded it from sadly got shut down, so it's not possible for me to do a replay on this thingy. But based on the content which I recorded for this thing, you had a campaign, you had new zombies never seen before, even in Project Zombie Strike. For example, you have dog zombies, flying zombies, and even tankers which could teleport here and there. So that was quite an interesting feature. Overall, I really loved its concepts, but sadly, because the implementation is iffy at best, I'm going to drop it into the average section. I truly wish the developers would continue making this, but this is now a piece of lost history. And thanks to yours truly, you can actually find gameplay on this history. It's recorded in my channel. So if you want to check out the truly unique zombie experience, I suggest you checking out Operation Dead Dawn. It's quite an interesting watch, really.
Is that a flying zombie? They didn't clickbait, look at this. Oh my goodness, they have flying zombies.
So now we are going to discuss East versus West Germany mod for Battlefield 2. This thingy was quite the interesting project which I was following closely before it actually launched. So this one is actually quite a great modification because I had a lot of fun playing it. You got custom vehicles, you got great locations, You even got like a lot of teams which you can play and just fight with. And based on what I have played, this modification is great, and I for sure can recommend for you to play it.
Well, this for sure is something interesting. When you deploy anything, it's jumping. Stop! Stop! Oh, god damn it! Man, this idiot. Stop! Enough.
And now we move on to the second most popular project on my channel, which is Heat of Battle. Heat of Battle, I think, is the closest ever modification to reach that 10 out of 10 mark, but being held down by bugs, some crashes, and the issues with the installation procedure. From what I remember, they had like the biggest release out there. This project was praised by me because I think it was closest to the perfection, because the gameplay was just so good on that thingy. You got the classic UI from Battlefield 2, you got weapons which are custom and not taken just straight up from Frostbite titles. Overall, it was like a great package. Right now, from what I hear though, there are some content which has been taken. For example, the Rush mode and also the new UI which was taken from a different project. So it definitely changed from the last time I played it. So, based on my original experiences, I'm going to throw Heat of Battle into the perfection category. But I'm going to be very wary about this mark. Because this thingy has changed quite a lot after 3 years since I played this thingy, I'll definitely have to do a revisit on this thing and see how things went through. I really hope it didn't just fall down because, as I said, this was the closest thing to true perfection on my channel.
Man, they really don't stop chilling. Okay, let me quickly bust this RPG. Whoa, this suppression, oh god. Okay. Yeah, got him.
So now we arrive at Battlefield EUWIN. I can't really classify this as a modification, it's mostly a man's project of trying different things for Battlefield 2 engine. So the previous gameplay which I did on this modification, let's call it that, was me just playing some Frostbite assets but featuring some custom UIs and some custom mechanics. To this day I'm quite ashamed that I went so far as to just straight up trash this modification without actually pursuing and finding out which are the new mechanics which have been introduced. I've played the 0.3 beta version, which I think this modification is always in beta. And from what I remember, the developer introduced a 0.4 version, which has changed some things slightly. But since this tier list is only considering the things which I've played previously, I sadly have to throw EUWIN into pretty bad. As much as I dislike Frostbite assets, some of the ideas which it had is quite great. Also, the gameplay was on point if you find the decent Battlefield 4 weapon, unlike some of the future ones which I am going to trash pretty bad.
Oh, finally! Finally! Oh, praise the Battlefield gods. Thankful I killed someone. Yeah, let me see. Where am I? After 7 deaths, I finally killed someone.
Next up we have AIX2 Reality. This one is not really AIX 2.0 related. It's mostly a mix between Insurgency and Project Reality and making Battlefield extremely hardcore. So it's a mix between Project Reality and classic Battlefield with some mechanics which are more hardcore than usual. I still have some gripes when it comes to balancing on some locations because sometimes you could just be destroyed immediately once you find some enemies. Overall, the experience is on point on some locations, on others is just pure agony to play. Marking this down, personally, for me it's a great modification, but it has to fix some of the balancing because it's just getting ridiculous. And of course the installation procedure, which is quite annoying, and now the developer now removing it entirely, it's a mystery how you can actually download and install this project for you to play it.
It's me back again. Did I seriously have to spawn in this satanic place?
Next up we have Battlefield 2 Sandbox. And of course this is the classic Gmod for Battlefield franchise. This is basically the mod that allows you to create custom buildings, to change base locations, you can even spawn vehicles. It has a slight amount of custom content, but the biggest gripe I really have is featuring just a slight bit from the Battle Racer mod. And also this is a modification which is sadly online only. So if you want to play this modification and have the full experience of the gameplay, you sadly have to find a LAN party just to play it online, because in 2022 the servers are shut down, like you can't do anything. It's a great modification, but it got killed by a sad fact that it's just multiplayer only. Next up in line we have Counter Warfare Nightfall. This thingy is yet again one of those projects such as Medal of Freedom, Advanced Warfighter and Nightfall 2048. Thankfully this time the developers didn't just crap the bed and actually released the beta, which is playable, and yours truly had fun in it. Overall, out of the asset flips created by the same developers, this is the best. I'm going to throw it into average, because the gameplay was on point, it wasn't ear rape, it wasn't annoying, but again it's a mishmash of assets. It's not pretty bad, but it's average. And this UI is really solid, not gonna lie. Oh, what? Yes, hello there. Alright, so this is going to be my final life in this game, cause... Scratch that, we're gonna have one more. Moving on, we have Burning Sands, which I received quite the negative attention for dropping quite a negative review on this thingy. And I gotta have to agree, I was a bit too harsh on it because I was angry at the time I was dropping a review for this thingy. Burning Sands is not as bad as I thought it would be. Yes, of course it has some assets from Battlefield 4, but it has its own unique takes, for example like locations which have destructibility enabled on them. So even though it's higher mark than pretty bad, I'm still going to classify it as average, because its themes are mostly related to Frostbite stuff instead of pushing on its own vision. When you vision yourself just porting Frostbite content into Battlefield 2, you're basically just doing a form of flattery for the original, which is Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4. If it had its own vision, I think it would have been in a higher spot than just an average modification. They should make my voice as a fatigue sound effect. Now, first thing first, let's discuss about RusMarines. Now, personally, I had a bit of a bias when playing this modification. Of course, it has its own issues. I do have some slight worries that it has some assets taken from different projects, but overall, the thingy which I've played in my stream was fantastic. I had a lot of fun just hunting down enemies with the tanks, I had a lot of fun playing with the weapons, and even the locations were tuned up and polished, especially for RusMarines. So overall the experience which I had in this modification was great. So I'm going to place it where it belongs. Of course the tank right now is staring into your soul, but that is RusMarines. Are you serious? Okay. Oh. Moving on, we also have UNKnow. This is one of the latest releases which gathered quite a lot of attention. I do have some gripes with it though, because it uses 2142 maps, 2142 content. There are some issues with the maps having missing assets, some bots are just acting weird there. Overall, UNKnow's weapons are just incredible. The reload animations are on point, the models are on point, sounds are great, and it's not just an ear rape fest. Of course, you have to accept the fact that it has some bugs, it has some issues with guns, the UI being dated, but overall it was a great experience, which I can definitely throw it up here. Someone else down there. Oh, okay, I think even the tank is shooting at me, yes. Ah, no! Oh, man, I'm a moron, honestly. Moving on, we have Firebird. So, Firebird is the train wreck which actually was unfolding live on my channel. So, I remember dropping first a review on it, which I was quite harsh upon it. I think I issued it 3 out of 10, because it was featuring maps which were broken, some guns were awful, the bots are just insane, like a lot of issues, and it also featured Battlefield 4 weapons, which is a classic mistake of an asset flip. So the developer actually contacted me and said, yo man, I actually repaired this thing, I released a new update, please try it out. And picture me surprised when I played this thingy and we got into a bit of drama, and basically in the gameplay live you could see all of the issues on table. We even found more than previous gameplay, which I actually pre-recorded. This was basically a retribution stream for this thingy, but in the end it failed miserably and even got a lower score than it was supposed to be. So Firebird really belongs in the really bad category. It's like it's on par with Final War, like it just belongs on that list really. I can't really defend anything really about it. They didn't even care to change the Insurgent flag with mech. And to wrap it up, we have Battlefield Apocalypse. This project was one of the first ever mods to feature fully custom content, especially like point of existence. So you had custom assets, a completely custom location, completely custom vehicles, completely custom weapons. So I have huge respect for the developers for trying this. Sadly, the polishing is pretty bad. You could see animations just clipping. Some locations at the end of its development, they were just generic. Some of them are just questionable. So overall, this modification is receiving a great treatment, but sadly it had some issues which started showing out by time. And once you go further and further, you'll see more and more issues because it's aging like milk in some instances. Overall, the atmosphere is on point, but sadly it's a victim to multiplayer only. Again, Battlefield Apocalypse is a multiplayer only mod, so you can't even play it offline. You can just drop in and just check out the surroundings and leave. That's basically what I did for my review of this project. So yes everyone, this is it. This is Christie Gaming Zone's Battlefield 2 mods tier list. As you can see, we have a lot of modification which received the great and perfection badges. Well, except the Battlefield 2 anime, which is basically more of a meme than actually just bringing unique content. I actually stumbled upon some pretty bad modifications in the recent times, for example Nations at War, the new one. We got Firebird, of course, Counter Warfare, Ghost Protocol. But if you check out the great and perfection stuff, we also got some pretty cool mods like UNKnow, RusMarines, and even Battlefield Apocalypse and stuff like that. So yes, this is my tier list video. If you see anything that you don't agree with or agree with, please leave some of your opinions down in the comments. I will definitely read them and find out what you think about this certain modification, and also find out some additional information about the things which I played on my channel. This is going to be quite interesting to feature such a project out, and I hope you will support it by throwing a thumbs up, and of course subscribe if you want to see more content like this. So everyone, I'd like to thank you for watching this tier list video. I hope you enjoyed this content, and before you go, please remember to throw a thumbs up and subscribe. Clicking that bell stuff will send you notifications when something new is uploaded on my channel. Thank you for watching, this was Chris, see you in the gaming zone.